I could feel the heat radiating from her skin, inches away from mine in the dim sauna. The air was thick, humid, intoxicating. Clara's eyes met mine through the steam, and something shifted between us. Something that had been building all day, maybe longer. Her fingers traced a slow path down my thigh, deliberate, testing. "I've been thinking about this," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hiss of steam. My breath caught. I should have pulled away, should have laughed it off, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned closer, letting the heat consume us both. Enjoying the start? Hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what's got you hooked so far. The day had started innocently enough. Clara and I had booked a full spa day at one of Vegas's most exclusive retreats, a much-needed escape from our demanding careers. I'd been drowning in legal briefs, and she'd been pulling endless hours at her marketing firm. We deserved this. Massages, facials, steam rooms, the works. God, I needed this, Clara sighed as we slipped into plush robes, the soft terry cloth a welcome contrast to our usual business attire. Her dark hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders, and I noticed how the spa's ambient lighting made her skin glow. We'd been friends for years, but something about seeing her like this, relaxed, uninhibited, made me look at her differently. We started with side-by-side massages, the therapists working out knots of tension I didn't even know I'd been carrying. Clara's soft moans of relief made something flutter in my stomach, a warmth that had nothing to do with the heated oils being worked into my skin. I found myself stealing glances at her, watching the way her body responded to each touch, the way her breathing deepened. "Feel good?" I asked, my voice slightly hoarse. She turned her head toward me, eyes half closed with bliss. Amazing. I forgot what it felt like to just let go. After the massages, we moved to the relaxation area, sipping cucumber water and letting the endorphins settle. The conversation flowed easily as it always did between us, but there was an undercurrent now, something electric in the air. "You know what I love about places like this?" Clara mused, gesturing around the serene space. "No judgment. You can just be yourself, explore whatever you're curious about." Curious about? I raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the shift in her tone. She smiled, a slow, knowing curve of her lips. "Haven't you ever wondered about different experiences?" My pulse quickened. "What kind of experiences?" "The kind you don't talk about at the office." Her finger traced the rim of her glass, the motion hypnotic. "The kind that make you question what you thought you knew about yourself." The conversation hung between us, loaded with possibility. I felt my cheeks flush, and not from the spa's warmth. Clara had always been bold, direct, but this felt different, more personal. "The sauna's calling," she said suddenly, standing and extending her hand. "Want to sweat out some more tension?" I took her hand, feeling the spark of contact shoot up my arm. "Lead the way." The sauna was private, secluded, with cedar walls that seemed to glow in the soft light. Clara adjusted the temperature, and steam began to rise around us. We settled onto the wooden benches, our robes falling open slightly in the heat. "Much better," she murmured, leaning back against the wall. Her eyes found mine through the rising steam. "More intimate," the word hung in the air between us. Intimate. My skin prickled, and not just from the heat. "Clara," I started, not sure what I wanted to say. "Shh." She moved closer, the wooden bench creaking softly. "Don't overthink this." Her hand found my knee, warm and steady. The touch was light, almost casual, but the intent behind it was anything but. I felt my breathing change, becoming shallower, more urgent. "I've thought about this," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "About us. About what it would be like." "Thought about what?" I managed, though we both knew the answer. Instead of responding with words, she leaned in. The first brush of her lips against mine was tentative, questioning. When I didn't pull away, she deepened the connection, her mouth warm and inviting. The taste of her, the softness of her lips sent shockwaves through my body. I'd kissed women before, in college, experimentation fueled by curiosity and alcohol. But this was different. This was Clara, my friend, someone I trusted, someone who knew me. The familiarity made it more intimate, more thrilling. Her hand moved higher on my thigh, fingers splaying against the terry cloth. I could feel the heat of her palm through the fabric, could feel my own body responding in ways I hadn't expected. My core began to pulse with a rhythm that matched my racing heartbeat. "Is this okay?" she whispered against my lips. I nodded, unable to form words. More than okay. This was awakening something in me I'd kept buried, something I'd never fully acknowledged. She smiled, that same knowing smile from earlier, and her hand slipped beneath my robe. The first touch of skin against skin made me gasp. Her fingers were gentle, exploratory, tracing patterns on my thigh that sent tremors through my entire body. "You're beautiful," she murmured, her lips finding the sensitive spot just below my ear. I've always thought so. The confession made my chest tight with emotion. How long had she felt this way? How long had I been blind to the tension simmering between us? Her mouth traveled lower, pressing soft kisses along my collarbone. Each touch was deliberate, worshipful, as if she was mapping territory she'd only dreamed of exploring. My head fell back against the cedar wall, steam swirling around us like a protective veil. When her fingers found the tie of my robe, she paused, looking up at me with questioning eyes. The moment stretched between us, heavy with anticipation and choice. I reached up, covering her hand with mine, and together we loosened the fabric. The robe fell away, leaving me exposed in the humid air. Clara's gaze traveled over my form with unconcealed appreciation, her breathing becoming as ragged as mine. Perfect, she breathed, her hands skimming over newly revealed skin. She positioned herself between my legs, her touch growing bolder, more confident. When her fingers found my most sensitive places, I couldn't contain the sound that escaped me. Part moan, part sigh, entirely surrender. Her rhythm was patient, building slowly, reading every response of my body like a language she was fluent in. The heat of the sauna intensified every sensation, made every touch feel electric. Sweat beaded on our skin, making us slick and responsive to each other's movements. That's it, she encouraged, her voice thick with desire. Let yourself feel it. I was drowning in sensation, in the heat, in the impossible intimacy of the moment. My hips moved instinctively, seeking more contact, more pressure. Clara responded perfectly, adjusting her touch to match my needs. When her mouth joined her fingers, I thought I might shatter from the intensity. The soft warmth of her lips, the skilled flick of her tongue, sent me spiraling towards something I'd never experienced with such raw intensity. My fingers tangled in her hair, holding her close, anchoring myself to the moment. The climax built slowly, then crashed over me in waves that seemed to go on forever. I cried out, the sound echoing in the small space, mixing with the hiss of steam and our labored breathing. Clara didn't stop until the last tremor had passed, then slowly worked her way back up my body, pressing gentle kisses to heated skin. When our eyes met again, there was something new there, something that changed everything between us. Wow, I managed, still catching my breath. She smiled, a satisfied, almost smug expression. My turn? Before I could fully process what was happening, I was pulling her closer, desperate to return the gift she'd given me. Her robe fell away as easily as mine had, revealing curves I'd only imagined in fleeting, guilty moments. My hands explored her body with growing confidence, marveling at the softness of her skin, the way she responded to my touch. When I found the places that made her gasp, made her arch against me, I felt a surge of power and tenderness that was intoxicating. Yes, she whispered, her voice breaking as I traced patterns on her inner thigh. Just like that. I took my time, wanting to worship every inch of her, to show her the same reverence she'd shown me. When I finally settled between her legs, tasting her for the first time, the intimacy of it overwhelmed me. She was warm and sweet, responding to every movement of my tongue with soft sounds that drove me wild. Her fingers gripped my shoulders, then my hair, guiding me with gentle pressure. I lost myself in the rhythm, in the taste of her, in the beautiful sounds she was making. When she reached her peak, her whole body trembled, and I felt a deep satisfaction at being the one to bring her there. We collapsed together on the wooden bench, our bodies intertwined, hearts racing in tandem. The steam continued to rise around us, but the air felt different now, charged with something new, something that would change everything. We should probably move, Clara murmured after a while, though neither of us made any effort to separate. Someone might come in. The reminder of the outside world was jarring, but also thrilling. We'd done this in a public place, had risked discovery for the sake of desire. It felt dangerous and exciting and perfect all at once. The jacuzzi, I suggested, surprising myself with my boldness. Her eyes lit up. I like the way you think. We gathered our robes, though we didn't bother putting them on properly. The spa was quiet at this hour, most guests having moved on to dinner or evening activities. We made our way to the private jacuzzi area, still high on endorphins and the thrill of our encounter. The warm water welcomed us like an embrace. Clara settled beside me, her leg brushing against mine under the bubbling surface. The jets created a pleasant hum around us, masking any sounds we might make. I can't believe we just did that, I said, though I felt no regret, only a delicious sense of having crossed a line I'd been too afraid to approach before. Do you regret it? She asked, her voice carefully neutral. I turned to face her fully, taking in her flushed cheeks, her tousled hair, the way her eyes held just a hint of vulnerability beneath their usual confidence. Not for a second, I said firmly. Do you? Her relief was visible. God, no! I've been wanting to do that for months. Months? I was surprised by the timeline. Remember that night we went out for drinks after your big case win? You laughed at something I said, and you touched my arm, and I wanted to kiss you so badly I could barely think straight. I did remember that night. I remembered feeling something shift between us, a charge I'd dismissed as too much wine and celebration, endorphins. Apparently, I'd been wrong. Why didn't you say anything? I asked, because I didn't want to ruin what we have. But sitting here with you today, feeling so relaxed and open, I couldn't hold back anymore. The honesty in her voice made my chest tight with emotion. Clara had always been direct, but this level of vulnerability was new territory for both of us. I'm glad you didn't hold back, I said, moving closer to her in the warm water. I think I needed someone to make the first move. So what happens now? The question hung between us, loaded with possibility and uncertainty. Instead of answering, with words I kissed her again. This time there was no hesitation, no testing the waters. This was a declaration, a choice, a step into uncharted territory that we'd navigate together. The kiss deepened, and I felt that familiar warmth spreading through my body again. Clara's hands found me under the water, her touch more confident, now, more knowing. I gasped against her lips as she rediscovered all the places that made me respond. Again? She whispered, and I could only nod. This time was different from our encounter in the sauna. The water added a new dimension, making every movement fluid and graceful. Clara's fingers moved with purpose, building the tension in me slowly, deliberately. The jets of the jacuzzi created additional sensation, tiny bubbles against sensitive skin. I tried to return the favor, but she gently guided my hands away. Let me, she murmured. I want to watch you fall apart again. And I did. The second climax was different from the first, deeper, more intense, rolling through me in long waves that left me clinging to her for support. The warm water seemed to amplify every sensation, making me feel like I was dissolving into pure pleasure. When it was over, we held each other in the bubbling water, both of us amazed by the intensity of what we'd shared. The spa around us was still quiet, our private world intact. I should probably return the favor, I said eventually, my hands already moving toward her under the water. But Clara caught my wrists gently. Later, she promised, her eyes dark with unfulfilled desire. When we have more privacy, more time, the promise in her voice sent another thrill through me. This wasn't going to be a one-time thing, a moment of spa-induced madness we'd pretend never happened. This was the beginning of something new, something that would reshape our entire relationship. We eventually made our way back to the changing area, though we took our time getting dressed. Every brush of fabric against sensitized skin was a reminder of what we'd shared. We caught each other's eyes in the mirror and smiled, conspirators in the most beautiful secret. The ride back to the hotel was charged with anticipation. Clara's hand rested on my thigh as I drove, her thumb tracing small circles that kept my body humming with awareness. We didn't talk much, but the silence wasn't awkward. It was pregnant with possibility. Your room or mine? She asked as we entered the hotel lobby. Yours, I said without hesitation. It has the better view, she laughed, a sound that had taken on new meaning after hearing it mixed with gasps of pleasure. I don't think we'll be looking at the view much. She was right. The moment her hotel room door closed behind us, we were in each other's arms again. This time, there was no need for gentle exploration or tentative touches. We knew what we wanted now, knew how our bodies fit together. Clara pushed me back onto the bed, her movements confident and sure. My turn to taste you properly, she said, her voice rough with desire. And she did. With privacy and time on our side, she explored every inch of me with her mouth and hands, learning what made me gasp, what made me arch off the bed, what drove me to the edge of reason. When I finally shattered under her touch for the third time that day, I was pretty sure I saw stars. I returned the favor with equal enthusiasm, finally able to worship her body the way I'd wanted to in the jacuzzi. The sound she made, the way she moved beneath me, the taste of her, it was all intoxicating. When she reached her peak, calling my name in a broken voice, I felt a surge of possessive satisfaction that surprised me. Afterward, we lay tangled, together in the hotel sheets, our bodies still humming with satisfaction. The Vegas lights sparkled outside the window, but we only had eyes for each other. So, Clara said eventually, her finger tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. This changes things. Yeah, I agreed. It does. Good changes? There was just a hint of uncertainty in her voice. I turned to face her fully, taking in her mussed hair, her kiss-swollen lips, the satisfied glow in her eyes. The best kind of changes. We talked through the night, sharing confessions and desires we'd never voiced before. I learned that Clara had been attracted to women before, but had never acted on it with someone who mattered so much to her. She learned that I'd been having dreams about her for weeks, dreams I'd dismissed as stress-induced fantasy. As dawn broke over the Vegas skyline, we made plans, not just for the rest of our trip, but for what came after. How we'd navigate this new dynamic in our friendship, how we'd explore this connection that had been simmering beneath the surface for so long. I want to do this right, Clara said as we watched the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. I don't want this to be just a weekend thing that we pretend never happened. Neither do I assured her. I want to see where this goes. And we did. That spa day was just the beginning of something beautiful and complex and completely unexpected. We discovered that physical chemistry was just one part of what we shared. There was also emotional intimacy, intellectual connection, and a deep friendship that provided the perfect foundation for something more. Not every friendship can survive that kind of transformation, but ours not only survived, it flourished. We learned to balance the different aspects of our relationship, to communicate openly about boundaries and desires, to support each other through the uncertainties that came with exploring new territory. Looking back now, I realize that day at the spa wasn't really about the heat of the sauna or the bubbles of the jacuzzi. It was about trust, about being vulnerable with someone who knew you well enough to handle that vulnerability with care. It was about recognizing that sometimes the most unexpected connections are the ones that change your life in the best possible ways. Some people might say we risked too much. Our friendship, our professional relationship, the comfortable dynamic we'd built over years. But I'd argue that we didn't risk anything at all. We simply had the courage to reach for something more, something deeper, something that had been waiting patiently for us to be brave enough to claim it. Have you ever found yourself in a moment where friendship blurred into something more intense, more intimate? Would you have had the courage to take that leap, knowing it might change everything? I'm curious about your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. I read every single one. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next story.